On this episode of Wolf Tracks, we'll learn about one man's unique style of teaching music, see how South is keeping up with the technologically advancing society, and explore the life of an Iron Man. All this and more on Wolf Tracks.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Wolf Tracks. I'm your host Travis Robertson, and today we're going to take a trip to Seattle to explore the culture of the Emerald City. Our first location is EMP, the Experience Music Project. And music has a lot to do with our first story. I had the chance to follow around a rock violinist who went to many different elementary schools and even did a benefit concert at South. Check it out. The violin. Most people aren't too interested in the violin, so why is this man playing to a bunch of little kids? Well, this man's name is Aron Meyer, and he's actually teaching these elementary school students about music and how things work. And from the looks of it, he really knows what he's doing. Aron Meyer has been playing the violin since he was just 5 years old, and made his debut with the Philadelphia Orchestra at age 11. He was invited to 12 different schools, 4 of which are South Kitsap School District elementary schools, to demonstrate the violin and see if the school districts like the Classroom Music Project. What is the Classroom Music Project? Well, let's ask the man himself.
The main mission of the program is to expose kids to the violin and classical music. However, my hook is bringing in familiar elements that kids are aware of, using contemporary sounds and a contemporary band format, like music with percussion and bass and drums and guitar, where they can connect with that music, because I think a lot of kids don't understand how to connect with classical music. They haven't been given the tools how to understand with it, and therefore it comes across as boring or seems not fun.
But these kids don't look bored. You might even say that the Classroom Music Project is already in effect in the South Kitsap School District. But this is nothing compared to what has already been done. CMP has helped a high school garage band record an original song in Portland's best studio, and 3 of their classmates had the chance to help in the production of the track. But for now, we only have a taste of Aron Meyer's unique teaching process.
In each school, I demonstrated the acoustic violin and juxtaposed that with an electric violin, played some of my original music and showed the kids the differences between the 2 violins, how they work. I talked about sound and signal flow. We talked about different effects and how you can manipulate sound and have a lot of fun learning about sound and then applying it with musical instruments.
This method really seems to work. Kids are even joining him on stage to participate in the making of music. And during the presentation, he even saves time for students to ask questions of their own. Aron Meyer continues to help mold the next generation into a knowledgeable, more creative one, and wants to help in more places. The Classroom Music Project is available to be contracted independently. And for more information, you can visit his website at www.aronmeyer.com. Now, with companies like Boeing and Microsoft, technology plays a huge role in Seattle's economy. That's why South Kitsap High School offers classes such as A+ certification. Here's Tyler Trogdon with more on that story.
Students often walk out of high school not knowing what to do with their life. So when they apply for jobs, they sometimes don't have the right credentials to meet the needs of a technologically advancing society. Little do they know that right here at SK, we have a class that could really help them out, called A+ certification. A+ certification is a widely accepted certification across the computer spectrum. It shows that the holder of the certificate has a basic knowledge of a computer, both inside and out.
I took this class because my dad also took the A+ course and he recommended it to me. My family's really into computers, so I thought, I can do this.
A lot of students take A+ certification to learn more about computers. They're sophisticated machines, so why not at least understand them? but few mention that there's an added incentive. People holding an A+ certification tend to make $20,000 more per year starting out than most average people who sign up for the same job. I asked Mr. Neighbors, the A+ certification teacher here at South Kitsap, what the wages were like for an A+ certified student coming out of high school.
That's an interesting question, because if you were back east, on the East Coast, for instance, in New York, I've read and heard from other A+ certification instructors that teach in New York, students out of high school can earn between $25 and $30 an hour.
If this class sounds easy, don't get your hopes too high, because there is a lot of studying that has to go into it.
The book publishers say that you have to study at least 200 hours in preparation to be successful for the test if you're a novice in the field, meaning no experience whatsoever. So after studying, you need to take 2 certification tests. One covers hardware, one covers operating systems.
What are the benefits of taking A+ certification? Sure, the monetary benefits are over the top, and the job opportunities are a plus, but what about the cost effectiveness?
There's a couple different ways of getting A+ certification. One, you can certainly take the class we offer here. You could study on your own and take the test, or you could pay from anywhere between prices I've seen as low as $1,500 up to $2,300, where you would go through what is called a boot camp.
So clearly, taking the A+ certification class is more practical than studying on your own and cheaper than going to boot camp. There is one requirement though, is that you must have an 89% in the class or better to take the test. So there is effort involved. So that brings back the question, why should you take the class? Well, what do you have to lose? Just remember, keep your options open.
Now, as many are aware, Seattle has a huge music scene, home to bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, even going all the way back to Jimi Hendrix. But now there's a new band coming up in Port Orchard looking to make their mark on the map.
You may think being in a band is fun and games, but really it's not. Some of the difficulties being in a band are the band members themselves. All around the world, kids like ours at South Kitsap are devoting their time and energy into forming a band, but it's not always that easy for them. They run into problems like finding the right band members, getting along with each other, and making music. Even the expenses are a problem, and trust me, this all doesn't come cheap.
Well, equipment's got to be the most expensive thing and one of the hardest to get. And if you break a drum head or break a string on the guitar, your amp goes out, because our guitar player currently does not have an amp and saving up for one, and they cost so much money. It takes a long time for you to save up enough to get it.
We found a local band from right here in Port Orchard called Memories Erased, and they have let us interview them on explaining to you the difficulties throughout the process of making a band. You may ask Tyler Yost, the drummers of Memories Erased, how hard it was to get band members and the problems he faces on getting along with all of them.
It's really hard to find members, especially when you want a certain sound. If they don't sound right, then it's really hard to find the members. And once you have them to write the music itself and get along with everybody, and not fight when you're just practicing and stuff, when the frustration comes along.
Above all, the hardest thing after finding members is writing music itself. To make music, it takes a lot of creativity and patience for everything to fall together.
Well, I try playing stuff like they play, like thrash metal or metalcore or hardcore. Just kind of think about it and be like, that's the kind of riff I want to play. Then I play it.
Just like everybody else, Memories Erased has future goals and dedications.
Our future goal is to definitely go on tour and just mainly be successful. To have a decent amount of fans, not to be huge and have the most fans out of everybody, and to have everyone like us the best. Just to keep having fun with what we're doing. Go on small tours from a couple of states. Then from there, I'd pretty much say everybody in the band's really dedicated, because once you play a show, then you want to continue to keep playing them, and it kind of gives you the kind of builds a passion for it.
Overall, after all the problems and difficulties you go through to make a band, it all turns out to be worth it.
So you're watching Wolf Tracks on location in Seattle. But what you probably don't know is that South Kitsap Video Production
also does the daily news for South Kitsap High School. With more on that, here's Chris Adkins.
Every morning at 9:53, the video production students at South Kitsap High School broadcast the daily announcements to the students and teachers in their classrooms. This may look like just a novelty broadcast, but there is so much more to it than that. Broadcasting to nearly 2,500 teenagers every morning is no easy task. So it is a producer's job to make sure that every show is a joy to watch, otherwise the show will fall flat on its face.
I'd say the important part to keep people paying attention to the announcements on WTV is just a matter of getting the information out there. A lot of people don't know about things that are going on around the school. So club announcements, events, things like that, things that people may, you hear it circling around the school. Oh, when's this going on? When's this going on? If they can see the announcement on WTV, it gets rid of all those problems, any miscommunications between students or staff. So we have, the final announcement, we're able to get it out there.
Just like the professional stations like Como, we must get the information out there to the viewers, and in order to do that, they have to want to watch. So to keep their interest piqued, we run PSAs and promos, which break up the show's pacing, but also give a message at the end. Running on a tight schedule also makes WTV run smoothly. We receive information last minute that has to be rushed into the anchors, or there may be an event going on that has to have a promo. The video students have just under 2 hours before the show must go on, so learning responsibility is a must.
Deadlines are one of those nasty things that most people have to deal with during their working life. And students are familiar with the concept of deadlines as it relates to papers and, oh gee, I got a few points taken off because it was late and no big deal, I'll make it up on the next assignment. But when it comes to video and we have hard deadlines, if a person misses it, it can mess up a whole bunch of other people. A whole program can go down the drain because one person missed a deadline.
That key skill for WTV is also relevant in the real world, preparing the students for life after high school. With everyone in the school saying WTV, the chance for a little bit of fame is there too. The anchors, who are seen every day, are celebrities in their own way.
Well, it's made me a lot more recognized among the students and the teachers. The teachers really know my name a lot more, and they can personally come up to me and ask me questions and tell me things. For instance, if we have things in the announcements to put in, they'll just come in and they'll know exactly who I am and who to go to tell about the announcements.
Our number one goal with WTV is to communicate to our school. And what we communicate varies from moment to moment, minute to minute, show to show.
The main goal would be to get those announcements out there. The announcements can be, deathly boring for some people, but it's important information that the school wants to get out there to their kids.
The main goal of WTV is to relay information to the students from the students. Something that is creative and...
It's a more interesting way of getting our announcements across. I think kids, even though sometimes they might not be interested in what we have to say, it is more interesting than just giving our announcements over a loudspeaker.
WTV, since its inception 3 years ago, has become something that the original crews only dreamed of. An ever-evolving outlet that changes with our needs. From new multi-camera setups, special guests, theme shows, and special announcements like the earthquake drill, WTV has changed with the times, but only time will tell how far it will actually go.
Now that last story featured Amanda Krafcik, very talented senior video student. But she's not the only talent in the family. She did a little story on her dad. Take a look.
This is my dad, Marty Krafcik. He's a school teacher at Brownsville Elementary, and he's also a cross-country and track coach at Glahalia Secondary School. He might look like a normal dad, but I'm here to tell you that he is not like any other dad that I've ever met before. This is what I mean. He is so weird. He actually enjoys swimming, biking, and running for fun. What normal human being would ever want to do anything like that? Well, the crazy thing is our world is filled with insane people like him, and they're called triathletes. Every other year, my dad competes in what is known as the Ironman competition. And no, it's not men that are made of iron and lift crazy amounts of weight. It's worse. It's a triathlon. The Ironman starts off with a 2.4-mile swim, then transitions into a 112-mile excruciating bike ride. And last, to top off the whole competition, is a 26.2-mile marathon.
Welcome to Ironman.
Yeah. Now, you can but only imagine what kind of recovery it would take to restore you from such a strenuous event. Well, it normally takes about 2 to 3 weeks for your body to fully recover and rejuvenate yourself after the race. A competition like the Ironman can definitely push even the strongest of athletes to their limits.
I experienced a lot of leg cramping at the Ironman when I was in Hawaii. Part of that might have been from the extreme heat and high humidity, cramping, nausea, fatigue, and just pure exhaustion, but still crossed the line. And then had to receive 2.5 liters of IV fluid after the race from being so dehydrated.
You never know how strong you actually are until you have pushed your body to the absolute max. And that is just what triathletes do each and every day of their life. I watch as my dad wakes up extremely early and comes home after dark from training. They train almost every day to prepare themselves for the Ironman, because there is no way that you could ever expect to finish an Ironman without the proper training.
Usually during a typical Ironman week, you train twice a day, and during the course of the week you would do 4 swims, probably 5 to 6 bikes, and 4 to 5 runs.
Now, you have probably all heard that triathletes eat tons of food. Well, in fact they do. They consume about 5,000 to 10,000 calories a day just to maintain the weight that they are at now. It seems hard to imagine how they can fit everything all into one day, but somehow they make it work. I think family is the main key here, and it could just be because I'm a part of his. But I do truly believe that without my family's support, my dad would not be as nearly as successful as he is right now.
He was very good. I'm very confident in him right now.
Yeah, good.
He's got this in the bag.
My dad has finished 8 Ironmans in his life so far, and hopefully wants to complete 10 before his body gives out on him. It's a tough competition filled with tons of competitors just thriving to call themselves the Ironman. But in the end, they are all Ironmen, because it takes more than hard work to complete a race such as this. You also have to have passion.
My inspiration is I just enjoy being fit, and I like the lifestyle of triathlon, swimming, cycling, running, and I guess I just enjoy the day-by-day training a lot. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it, so that's kind of what keeps me going. The race is kind of a nice diversion, but I just enjoy the day-by-day training and being in shape, and being able to outrun high school kids is fun too.
Who knows? Maybe one day my dad's inspiration will rub off on me. One day I might be able to call myself the Iron Woman. But then again, swimming a couple of miles, then having to bike that far, and finishing with a marathon? Yeah, that doesn't really sound like that much fun. I love you, Dad, but I think I'll pass. That life just isn't for me. I'm sorry to say, but I guess I'm just not as crazy as you.
So Seattle and the surrounding areas are known for its beautiful scenery, with many trees and even more water. These waters are home to businesses and our famous ferries. But back on land, people are setting records, speed records. Here's Jack Stege with more on that story.
You hear about them on TV. You see them blasting across the landscape, setting new land speed records, streamlined supercars, modified motorbikes, and lightning-fast land rockets. They all seem so unreal. But would you believe, right here in Port Orchard, a local citizen holds a speed record for the fastest unstreamlined push-rod motorcycle class, and is currently building a new speed monster. When not at his job as an engineer at the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, John Stege can be found inside his extra-large trailer, hard at work on his new sidecar motorbike to race at the annual SCTA Speed Week event on the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah. You say you've never heard of Speed Week? Well, let's fill you in.
I've been going there for about 10 years, 12 years. Down there in Wendover, Utah, where we do all they set a lot of speed records with big cars and stuff down there. Famous guys like Craig Breedlove and his jet car and all of them, plus a lot of other racers over the years. Since around 1948, they've been racing there in this regular thing. The Southern California Timing Association sponsors their speed trials. Before then, before World War II, there's a few people went out there too, kind of big money, one-shot efforts. Like the Mormon Meteor was a famous car that went out there. And Sir Malcolm Campbell from England took his car called the Bluebird.
So I hear you hold a record from this event.
We hold a record in the 1650cc unstreamlined pushrod motorcycle class of 169.549 miles per hour. It's an old antique 1969 Harley-Davidson Sportster, an old iron head, rented on fuel, alcohol, and nitro, similar to what you run in your model airplanes. And also castor oil for lubrication. And it had a lot of parts stripped off of it, and you had to use a separate starter to start it up. It was all bored and stroked out until the cylinders were real thin. So the motor wasn't actually that strong because it was so highly modified, but it held together for one-way runs on the salt flats. And I still got it, but it's in pieces right now. So I'm going to put it back together again someday, run it again or sell it. But I can only do one project at a time, and this is the one I got right now.
What's this new thing you're building now?
This one isn't a modified bike. It's built from scratch, from the ground up. I spent several months starting out just designing it on paper, sketches, and did some plans and worked out the dimensions. Had to research what wheels and tires were available that I could use. It doesn't have body work yet, as you can see, except for the cockpit there. This is the sidecar part itself I'm sitting on. Here, this will all have sheet aluminum on it, and it's basically a little upside down wing to once you get at speed to make sure your third wheel remains planted on the ground. This engine isn't modified yet. I'm just running it as a basic production form. The record in this class is 165 miles an hour, I believe, in this size of motorcycle sidecar. So we're going to try and go 170.
People say nothing interesting happens in Port Orchard. But when you look hard enough, you'll find some supposedly ordinary people are capable of pretty amazing things. So, any last words from the soon-to-be double speed record holder?
If you all are in Wendover next August, feel free to drive off the highway out to the racetrack and say hi to us. We'll be there.
That about wraps it up here in Seattle. I'd like to thank you for joining me on my little trip, but I've got a ferry to catch. Have a good evening.
Kids are on temperature